Welcome to another electrifying episode of the Wrestling Analyst podcast Beyond the Bell, the show that takes you past the headline and into the heart of Squared Circle. This week, we've got a stacked card of topics. The weekend review, breaking down the biggest matches, shocking twists, and backstage buzz. The Analyst detailed storyline breakdown, cracks in the darkness, Judgment Day's Civil War begins. Is the most dominant faction in WWE starting to implode? The Wrestling Analyst opinion. Should Survivor Series go 2 nights next year like WrestleMania and SummerSlam? We'll weigh the pros and cons. The Analyst booking room. The corporate coup of Chelsea Green. How one shocking twist could reshape the women's division. And of course, a preview of the next episode and November 22, or this week in WWE history, a look back at iconic moments and a tease of what's coming next. So buckle up because it's time to go beyond the bell. Welcome to the Wrestling Analyst podcast Beyond the Bell, where the real story begins after the final bell. I'm your host, Night Stalker Luc Baudier, and together we'll break down the week's biggest moments, analyze storylines, and bring you opinions that hit harder than the steel chair. We will also explore how I would be booking a storyline if I were head of creative. Because here, every match tells a story, and we're here to break it down. So hit subscribe, leave a like, and click that notification bell, and let's go beyond the bell. Okay, so WWE Week in Review. We're going to start with Monday's episode of Raw. John Cena made his final appearance on Raw as a wrestler, and Dominic Mysterio interrupted and challenged Cena to an Intercontinental Championship match at Survivor Series. And then the Judgment Day attacked Cena, but Sheamus and Rey Mysterio came to this and made the save and set up a 6-man tag match. And Cena hit the AA on JD McDonough for the win. So JD McDonough is going to have the distinction of being the last guy John Cena pinned on Raw. Last time is now tournament. Gunther made a triumphant return to his old team. On top of that, beating Javon Evans in a very good match. Gunther is probably going to be the one facing Cena in his last match, setting up the passing of a torch to the next dominant superstar in WWE. And Solo Sikoa faced a surprise opponent, which turned out to be Dolph Ziggler. It was very good to see Dolph back in the WWE ring, even though he's now performing as Nick Nemeth in the TNA. We have a new women's Intercontinental Champion. Maxine Dupree toppled Becky Lynch with a little distraction from AJ Lee. And during the match, Becky had an altercation with referee Jessica Carr, who Wade Barrett was referring to fast count Carr. This will surely set up a feud between Carr and Lynch in the near future. I hope they let the story develop slowly into Jessica Carr's WWE wrestling debut. Let that feud be about Lynch complaining about Carr's job as a referee for a while. Let's have some long storytelling on this. And the men's War Games teams are now set. Paul Heyman's team composed of Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed, Logan Paul, Drew McIntyre, and Brock Lesnar. Now, that's a spectacular lineup. And CM Punk's team, you're going to have CM Punk, the World Heavyweight Champion. You're going to have Cody Rhodes, the WWE Undisputed Champion. You're going to have the Usos and Roman Reigns. So, who is going to win this? I would say the heel team take the pin on Jimmy Uso. That's what I'm seeing right now. And we now know the answer for the women's side, but after Monday, we were wondering if AJ Lee would join Survivor Series team of Rhea Ripley, which is now composed of Rhea, Charlotte, Alexa Bliss, Io Sky, and now we know it's AJ Lee after SmackDown. And on Asuka's side is Asuka, Kairi Sane, Lash Legend, Nia Jax, and we now know that Becky Lynch has joined that team. So let's go now to NXT Gold Rush Part 1 at MSG. Show started strong with the AAA Mixed Tag Team Championship with Chelsea Green and Ethan Page defended against Joe Hendry and Thea Hale. And Chelsea hit the Unpretty Her to help herself and Page retain the titles. Blake Monroe and Sol Ruka for the NXT Women's North American Champion. Great match. Monroe won when Zarya threw in the towel to protect Sol Ruka from herself. Now, there has been a heel turn coming between those two. Was pretty sure that it would be Zarya turning on Sol, but now I'm not so sure anymore. The more I see the story develop, the more I think that Sol Ruka is going to be the one turning heel. We'll see, but the more I see that, the more I think it's Sol Ruka that's going to be turning heel on Zarya. NXT Tag Team Championship, Dark State retain and keep dominating the NXT Tag Division. And as for the NXT Women's Championship, we got JC Jane that regained the championship after Izzy Dane attacked Tatum Paxley outside the ring. Now, if you saw my previous podcasts, I was saying that this was coming for a couple of weeks now. And did mention that in last week's podcast. So I was expecting Izzy Dame to turn on Paxley so that Paxley can become a full-blown babyface. Now on to SmackDown. Okay, so SmackDown last night, the show opened with Paul Heyman, Logan Paul, Bronson Reed, and Braun Breaker hyping their team. They were interrupted by the Usos, who promised backup. Cody Rhodes' music hit, but instead of appearing, cameras revealed Drew McIntyre ambushing Rhodes inside his tour bus, leaving him bloodied. The attacks set the tone for the night, escalated tensions for a War Games match. Later on in the show, during Bronson Reed's match against Carmelo Hayes, which Rhodes helped Carmelo Hayes win. More on that a little bit later. Later on, Rhodes returned to clear the ring and cut a passionate promo about War Games, saying that in history, a Steiner is never better than a Rhodes, and that it's not going to be different this time. And the match is in the match that his father created. United States Championship Open Challenge. Ilya Dragunov retained against JD McDonough in a brutal, hard-hitting contest. Dragunov sealed the win with an H-bomb after surviving McDonough's brainbuster and moonsault. Last time is now tournament. John Cena's farewell opponent is still to be determined, but like I just talked a couple of seconds ago, Carmelo Hayes defeated Bronson Reed via countout after interference chaos involved the Usos and Cody Rhodes. So Carmelo advances to face Gunther on Raw this Monday. And Penta defeated Finn Balor with a Mexican Destroyer. And Penta moves on to face Solo Sikoa in the quarterfinals. And we had tag team action with DIY, Johnny Gargano, and Tommaso Ciampa, which, by the way, they both came out to their old NXT music instead of their tag team theme. So is that another change of music where they will all take their old themes and enter separately? Could be. I like those themes those themes, by the way. And they defeated Fraxium, Nathan Frazier, and Axiom after Candice LeRae pulled Axiom's mask, allowing Gargano to score the pin. Now, we saw a segment backstage where Charlotte and Rhea seemed to have settled their disputes, resulting in a very tense handshake. Now, if you ask me, the War Games match is far from one for the babyface team because it would not take much to break that trust at all. One false move and Charlotte could very well turn on Rhea during the match, or something could happen there. And at the end of the night, in the closing segment, we saw the babyface team present their fifth member, which is AJ Lee. And while she was coming to the ring, after Asuka's team, Asuka, Lash Legend, Nia Jax, and Kairi Sane attacked Rhea, Io, Charlotte, and Alexa, they were attacking them in the ring. Then AJ tried to come in to help her teammates, and Becky Lynch cut her off. So that finished the setup of the women's War Games match teams. Like as I said earlier in my Raw review, it's going to be Rhea, Io, Alexa Bliss, Charlotte Flair, and AJ Lee versus Asuka, Kairi Sane, Lash Legend, Nia Jax, and Becky Lynch. Now, Becky, by the way, after losing her title on Monday, she was hilarious online, making post after post after post in all caps. And dare I say, in a Trumpy fashion. She was complaining all the time. She was saying that everything is rigged. And man, this week was golden Becky Lynch on this. It was mwah. Survivor Series continued to be hyped as Sami Zayn's team made a compassionate promo about a traditional Survivor Series match next Friday against the MFT. And we were supposed to get a U.S. Championship celebration for Chelsea Green with a lot of pyros and everything, but seems like Chelsea Green was hiding from Julia. And she ordered Alba Fire to postpone the celebration, probably the next week. So that's it for my recap for SmackDown. So let's go to the detailed storyline breakdown. Okay, so for my detailed storyline breakdown today, cracks in the darkness. The Judgment Day's civil war begins. The once unbreakable force of the Judgment Day is showing signs of fracture. Tensions are boiling between Finn Balor and Dominic Mysterio and the cracks are widening with every passing week. Finn isn't thrilled that Dominic relies on outside help, especially from El Grande Americano, to keep his Intercontinental title that he just lost to John Cena. But you get where I'm going. And now Dominic is pushing to bring El Grande Americano into the faction, a move that can completely shift the group's balance of power. Now, JD McDonough remains loyal to Finn for now, but loyalty in WWE is never guaranteed. With Finn and JD standing strong together, Dominic feels increasingly isolated, perhaps explaining why he's leaning on the Americanos for help. Meanwhile, Roxanne Perez and Raquel Rodriguez are playing very different roles in this. Roxanne is the peacemaker, desperately trying to keep the boys united, while Raquel takes a hands off approach, letting them fight it out. And then there's a looming shadow of Liv Morgan. Once seen as the true leader of Judgment Day, Liv's impending return could ignite a firestorm. Her past feud with Roxanne adds fuel to the fire. Liv never wanted Roxanne in the group, and now she might suspect Roxanne of getting too close to Dominic. Now, could Roxanne start flirting with Dom to spark this rivalry? Why not? And if Liv comes back swinging, which side does Raquel take? She's been close to Roxanne since Liv's absence, and a shocking betrayal could flip the script, sending Liv to a babyface turn, or even turning Roxanne into the fan favorite. Who knows? Underneath all this drama lies another simmering feud. Finn versus Dominic. Now, don't forget, Dominic pinned Finn at WrestleMania to win the Intercontinental Championship, and that resentment hasn't gone away. If Finn helps Dom regain the title at Survivor Series, what happens next? Could Finn demand a shot at the gold, believing it's easier to beat Dom than Cena? And when JD eventually betrays Finn, does that set up a massive babyface turn for Finn Balor? Now, I did make a video about Finn Balor's future babyface turn. I invite you to check it out. It's like a fantasy booking I made, and I think for Finn Balor fans, you might like it. Now, imagine Finn returning as the Demon at WrestleMania to reclaim the Intercontinental title. Goosebumps. Judgment Day is on the brink of a seismic shift. This faction has already created main event stars: Rhea Ripley, Damian Priest, Liv Morgan, and now Dominic and Roxanne Perez are next in line. But the question remains, who turns babyface first? Finn Balor or Dominic Mysterio? WWE is teasing it, and Dom's growing popularity, and let's face it, Eddie Guerrero vibes, make this even more unpredictable. So imagine this. let's say, like I was saying a little bit earlier, Finn Balor helps Dom take back the title. Then he wants a shot at the title. Dom gives it, or Pierce gives it to him. Match happens. El Grande Americano comes to help Dominic retain the title. Then Americano asks for a match for the Intercontinental title. And Finn helps Dominic retain, setting up for another match. And at this match, it's JD that betrays Finn, setting up the babyface turn. And then it can lead all the way to WrestleMania, where, as I said earlier, and as I said in my other video, you could have the Demon Balor face Dominic Mysterio at WrestleMania and win the title. So drop your opinion, drop your thoughts in the comments. Is the future of Judgment Day about redemption or total destruction? Now let's go to the opinion segment. So, in my opinion segment this week, should Survivor Series go two-night like WrestleMania and SummerSlam? After WrestleMania and SummerSlam has gone two-night, WrestleMania during the pandemic in 2020, and so SummerSlam this year in 2025, WWE is thinking about having more events going to two-night events, two PLEs. Now, just like I said a couple of months ago in one of my videos entitled Two-Night Premium Live Events, I think Survivor Series and Royal Rumble are the next two events logically to go to two nights. Why? Simply because War Games matches take a long time on that premium live event, and there's not much room to have other matches. So apart from War Game matches, not many wrestlers have a chance really to shine during that event or that PLE. Now, a lot of people are nostalgic about the classic traditional Survivor Series matches. I think that one of the last time we saw some matches during the Survivor Series event itself was in 2019 when you had NXT involved in Survivor Series. I think the big four PLEs, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Survivor Series, and Royal Rumble, I think those four events should give the chance to a maximum of wrestlers to shine and end storylines more often. So here's my idea on this. Both nights should have a War Games match as the main event. Now, whichever men or women has the most compelling storyline gets the Sunday match. So you could very well have the women's War Game match go on the main event of Sunday. Why not? And like I said, a lot of times during the PLEs, the best match of the night was a women's match. A lot of times. Not every time, but pretty often. Both nights would get at least one traditional 5-on-5 Survivor Series match. And if the main event on Saturday is the women's War Game match, well, the 5-on-5 is going to be the men's Survivor Series, the traditional Survivor Series match. and vice versa. So on the Sunday, you get the women 5-on-5 traditional Survivor Series, and you get the men's War Games match as the main event. They already made one this year with the MFTs versus Sami Zayn's team. So if it goes to 2 nights, you take this match and you move it on the PLE itself. And each night you can insert 2, 3, and maybe even 4 matches, additional matches during that event. 4 would be a bit more, bit too much maybe with the length of the matches, but why not? Now, this might not be popular with my audience right now, but I think the main champions for each brand should not be in the War Games, so that they could defend their title on the PLE at Survivor Series. Now, they could be in the War Games matches if the storyline really demands it. Best example I can give you this year would be Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre. They're in the match to make their storyline, their feud advance even more. And if you watched my last podcast with my booking room where I talk about Cody's title, you'll see a little bit why I say that this is not over, of course, and you would see where I was going with this booking room. Just a parenthesis there. Now, I would even make an NXT PLE on a Saturday afternoon in an arena and make 2 traditional Survivor Series matches on that PLE, one for men, one for women, for NXT talent. Why not? So here is the card I would make if I was head of creative, even though it's not my booking room segment, but I'm just pitching my card there for Survivor Series 25 if it was a 2-night event. So night 1 on Saturday, November 29th would be, the opening match would be the traditional Survivor Series match for the men's with Team Sami Zayn. Then Sami, Rey Fenix, Shinsuke Nakamura, and the Motor City Machine Guns. And they would go against the MFT. Solo Sikoa, Tama Tonga, Tonga Loa, JC Mateo, and Tala Tonga. I would have an Intercontinental Championship match. And the funny thing is I had Dominic Mysterio as the champion because I wrote this before Monday Night Raw. So, but now it would be John Cena defending the title against Dominic Mysterio. I would have a women's U.S. Championship match between Chelsea Green and Julia, who would get her rematch for the title. I would have a singles match that maybe would end that storyline, even though I think it's still too soon to end this. I would have Carmelo Hayes versus The Miz. I would have a World Tag Team Championship match with Dragon Lee and AJ Styles versus The New Day. And the main event would be the Women's War Game match with Rhea Ripley, Io Sky, Alexa Bliss, Charlotte Flair, and AJ Lee. And they would go against Asuka, Kairi Sane, Lash Legend, Nia Jax, and Becky Lynch. And again, I wrote this before Raw on Monday. So I already had Becky and AJ in that match. Now, night 2, the opening match would be the women's traditional Survivor Series match. So I threw in there 5 women on each side. And I would have maybe Team Lyra Valkyria with Lyra and Bailey as the leaders, with Michin, Natalia, and Tiffany Stratton. And on the other side, I would have Team Judgment Day or Team Roxanne Perez. Roxanne, Raquel Rodriguez, Nikki Bella, Kiana James, and Alba Fire. Although now Nikki Bella is more involved in with Stephanie Vaquer, so that's another proof that I wrote that before Monday Night Raw. I would have a United States Championship match with Ilya Dragunov defending against Tommaso Ciampa. I would have a WWE Women's Championship match between Jade Cargill and another powerhouse, Jordynne Grace from NXT. I would have a WWE Tag Team Championship match with the Wyatt Six versus the Street Profits. And of course, the main event would be the men's War Games match with Team CM Punk, Jay and Jimmy Uso, Cody Rhodes, and Roman Reigns. And they would go against Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed, Drew McIntyre, Logan Paul, and Brock Lesnar. So having a 2-night Survivor Series would be beneficial for WWE. Why? Well, more revenues, better chances to have endings to major storylines, showcase more talent to prepare future stars, and cities would want to get those events because of the economic impact for them. And of course, increased streaming and social media interaction and increased sponsorship opportunities. So all these could benefit WWE, but there are pros and there are cons, of course, and possible risk of a 2-night event when there might be too much, and that's why I would stick to the big 4, and that's it. I would not have any other PLE going to 2 nights. I would stick with just those 4. Production and operating costs. Of course, when you go 2 nights, you double the production cost. And of course, the ticket pricing. 2-night events can cost a lot for the average wrestling fans. And that's why they should make only 4 per year and not return to the same city for 4 or 5 years for one of those PLEs. Anyway, there's so many cities that they can go that, and I'm just talking about the United States and Canada, let's say. You can make a big rotation of places where you can do those PLEs. Let's say in Montreal, we are renovating the Olympic Stadium right now, and it could very well fit one of those PLEs, maybe the Royal Rumble, or maybe SummerSlam, or maybe a Survivor Series. I don't think we're ever gonna get a WrestleMania in Montreal, but any 3 of the other big 4, I would settle for that. So what do you think? Tell me what you think in the comments, and what would be your dream card for a 2-night Survivor Series, let's say in 2025. So in the booking room, the title this week, The Corporate Coup of Chelsea Green. Now, Chelsea Green shocked the WWE Universe on November 7th, defeating Julia and ending her 133-day reign as Women's United States Champion. Now the question on everyone's mind, what's next for Chelsea Green? And by ricochet, Julia. If I were sitting in the head creative chair, here's how I'd book this title reign to make it unforgettable. November 21st, which was yesterday in essence, Chelsea Green gets her United States Championship celebration. So she gets her lavish championship celebration, flaunting her new status as the face of the division. But the party doesn't last long. Julia and Kiana James crash the festivities, and Julia demands her rematch. Now, of course, Chelsea's going to say no, but Nick Aldis will make it official for the SmackDown episode right before Survivor Series next week on November 28th. So November 28th, the rematch. Julia and Chelsea deliver a competitive match to elevate Chelsea's credibility as champion. Outside the ring, Kiana James neutralizes Alba Fire, and therefore distracting the referee. And that's when Slagent K enters the ring, hits Julia with her own finisher, and then Chelsea capitalized with the unpretty her for the win. Now, who would Slagent K be? Carmen Petrovich. The NXT and Evolve woman that's been rumored to enter the main roster as a Secret Harvest edition. Julia's road back to contention. So Kiana James goes to see Nick Aldis and petitions for another title shot, claiming her client was robbed. Aldis responds with a fatal four-way, Julia versus Michin versus Zelina Vega versus a returning Tiffany Stratton. Julia wins by pinning Zelina after a devastating Northern Lights bomb, hurting her spot at Saturday night's main event on December 13th for a U.S. title shot. So on December 13th, Julia versus Chelsea Green for the U.S. title. The match is intense, and don't forget, it's heel versus heel again. But Chelsea draws babyface cheers. So near the end of the match, the Secret Harvest tries to interfere, but it gets countered by Julia and Kiana James. While Chelsea is outside the ring on the floor, recuperating. As the referee counts Chelsea out, Kiana James strikes, hitting Julia with her own 401k finisher. Chelsea slides back in, nails the unpretty her, and retains the title. Julia is now officially a babyface. The fallout. On the following SmackDown episode, Chelsea Green celebrates with her Secret Service and unveils her new addition, Kiana James, and presents her as the new press secretary of the Green regime. Julia interrupts, demanding revenge. Aldis books Julia versus Kiana James, and Julia wins decisively with the Northern Lights bomb. Julia's road to redemption. So this feud would stretch out all the way to WrestleMania. Why? To give Julia some babyface heat, to to make her overcome a lot of adversity and have her then being elevated to an even more a better status in the ring. So at the Royal Rumble, Julia would eliminate both members of the Secret Harvest, Slagent A. Alba Fire and Slagent K. Carmen Petrovich, and Kiana James as well, only to be eliminated by Chelsea herself. Then Julia would regain the number one contender status before Elimination Chamber. Now, she wouldn't get the match at the Chamber, but that would set up the match for WrestleMania. She could then defeat Alba Fire, Carmen Petrovich in singles matches, battles in chaotic tag title bouts against Chelsea, Kiana, and the Hervis with allies like Michin and Tiffany Stratton, and maybe some new NXT call-ups like Zarya and Sol Ruka. Why not a 6-woman tag at one point with Zarya, Sol Ruka against Kiana James and the Secret Hervis, or even Chelsea Green and the Secret Hervis? Why not? And finally, at WrestleMania, Julia challenges Chelsea Green for the Women's United States Championship and finally wins it back in a career-defining moment. Now, where does each of them go from here? From here on? Julia can embark on a long and meaningful United States Championship reign. After Julia regains the title and becomes a cornerstone of the division to make her reign feel important, she should defend against a variety of wrestlers. She should face heels, babyface, Michin, Tiffany Stratton, Nia Jax even, Zarya, Sol Ruka, Kiana James, Alba Fire, Carmen Petrovich. She could defend against everyone in the division to have a very good, almost make a U.S. Championship open challenge. Almost. We could almost. It's already on with the men, but not a U.S. Women's Championship Open Challenge, but having her defend the title more often than during her first reign. That's essentially what I'm saying. That would elevate the title and feature Julia in high-profile matches on TV and PLEs, giving her strong wins, but also competitive bouts to showcase her resilience. And add some storyline depth, position Julia as the fighting champion who overcame betrayal and faction warfare, making her redemption arc complete. Now, Chelsea Green, on the other hand, doesn't fade away at all. She pivots to something even bigger. How? Have her win the Money in the Bank briefcase. Now, Chelsea's character is tailor-made for Money in the Bank. Her opportunistic, manipulative persona fits the briefcase gimmick perfectly. Tease constant cash and threats. She controlled champions weekly, cutting promos, even on social media, and cut promos about strategic timing and corporate takeovers. And faction leverage. The Green regime could help her keep opponents guessing, creating chaos whenever Chelsea teases a cash in. So tell me what you think about this booking room segment in the comments. Hope I'm going to hear from you. And tell me what you think about this booking room fantasy booking. On to the preview and interactions. Okay, so in next week's episode, we'll take a look at the Analyst detailed storyline. I haven't decided yet on what to explore, but here's a couple of storylines that I'm thinking of. The next power shift. Can Ripley and Sky dominate the women's tag division? The NXT Championship. Will Ricky Saints stand tall or fall to Obafemi? And the other one is Carmelo Hayes versus The Miz. From underdog to icon, is Hayes ready to leave Miz in the dust? In my opinion segment, Tag Team Wrestling, WWE's forgotten cornerstone. So I will discuss what's happening with the tag team divisions from Raw and SmackDown, and maybe touch a little bit on the women's division too. And in my booking room, booking the best, what's next for CM Punk and the World Heavyweight Championship. Now, this week in WWE history, we go back November 17th, 1997. Now you all know now what I'm going to talk about here. Survivor Series 1997 at what was then the Molson Center in Montreal. Bret the Hitman Hart was defeated by the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels in what became known as the infamous Montreal Screwjob. Off the air, Bret Hart made signs to the four sides of the ring, writing WCW in the air, signaling that he was off to WCW, and the rest is history. So that's it for me this week. Please, if you like this, subscribe, leave a like, and put some comments saying what you think about this podcast, and see you next week. That's it for this week, and thank you for listening to the Wrestling Analyst podcast, Beyond the Bell. If you loved what you heard, smash that subscribe button, drop a like, and hit that notification bell so you never miss the action. Got opinions? Share them in the comments. I want to hear your take. So until next time, stay loud, stay proud, and keep going beyond the bell.